panels which are going to deploy. Everything must be squeezed, shrinked to fit in order to reduce the cost of the launch. The launcher, by the way, it stalls like, I think, 63 meters long. It's very tall. And within it, there is something very little, very light, that can do tremendous things in it.
The laboratory, which maintains a temperature equal to that of the human body, will make it possible to conduct experiments on the aging of neurons, resistance of bacteria to antibiotics, and how to improve the absorption capacity of medication.
We are a small country, but we have a long history in space. The first Israeli satellite was launched in '88. Actually, we were the 8th country in the world that had the entire capability in space, which means we can design a satellite, we can operate satellite, and we can launch satellite. The importance of doing experiment in microgravity, it's opened a new era, but in the near future, materials will be manufactured in space, and you have to do experiment in order to test that.
With the ability to conduct such experiments, these laboratories in space are taking the next step to prepare for manned missions on the Moon, Mars, and possibly even boldly go where no one has gone before.
3 decades have passed since NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft flew by Neptune's moon Triton and left spaceheads wanting more. A new mission competing for selection under NASA's Discovery program aims to revisit Triton and discover more of the unknown. Investigating how this strange moon has changed over time would give scientists a better understanding of how solar systems work and evolve. Now, the Weizmann Institute and Israel's Ministry of Science and Technology are part of a team planning a mission to Triton. They've come up with an incredibly accurate clock that will lose less than a second in 10 million years. And to tell us more about it, I'm joined by Professor Yohai Caspi from the Weizmann Institute of Science. Now, Professor Caspi, thank you so much for joining us. Now, tell us about this Trident project. Who's involved and what are the goals for the potential mission?
So this is a NASA mission. It's proposed by a team of scientists under the umbrella of the NASA Discovery program. It's just been recently down-selected a couple of months ago from 24 competing missions to just now 4 in the competition, and 2 will be selected for launch in the late 2020s. We have 7 different instruments, and one of the instruments is going to be an Israeli instrument that's developed here at the Weizmann Institute, working with the Israeli Space Agency and another company in Israel called Acubi. The goals of the mission are to understand the atmosphere, geology, and subsurface ocean on Neptune's moon Triton.
All right, so what makes Triton an interesting target for study then?
It's very close to Neptune, so it's a very relatively large moon close to a planet, so it has very strong tidal forces between Neptune and the moon, and that creates geology on the planet. That also results in a subsurface ocean, so beneath the frozen surface of Triton, and this region of water can even potentially harbor life in it in a way such as there is life in the very, very depth of Earth's ocean. We also see in the active geology in the ocean, we see geysers, and these geysers go up into the atmosphere, and we see an active atmosphere which is transporting this material across the planet. In the solar system, there's no other moon that has such a combination of features. And in addition, Triton didn't really form in the solar system. It rotates in a different way than Neptune rotates this way, and Triton rotates the other way. And that means that it didn't form in the system of Neptune, but it drifted from outside of the solar system into the Neptune gravity field. So we have here a unique opportunity to look at an object from outside of the solar system.
Oh, it does sound extremely interesting. Now, Professor Casper, you're designing a particular clock that could be used on the mission, you and your team. Tell us about what this clock will do. What is its role?
Yeah, so the role of my team is to study the atmosphere of Triton. And the way we're going to do that is by sending a radio beam from the spacecraft towards Earth as the spacecraft is going around Triton. And this beam, when it goes through the atmosphere, is going to interact with the atmosphere. So we will measure small changes in the frequency of that beam in order to study about the atmosphere. So this clock that we have, this very accurate clock, will give us a very accurate measurement of the frequency of the beam, and by that we can study the atmosphere. So this is a very, what's unique about the clock is that it's very accurate, as I mentioned before, just a drift of 1 second and 10 million years, but it's also very small and compact. So building such a clock that's small and accurate enough and doesn't weigh a lot of mass, because we have limits for a spacecraft, is a unique capability that we developed here in Israel with Acubit, the company that's building the clock.
Professor Yochai Caspi from the Weizmann Institute of Science, thank you so much for your time and good luck with Trident.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after the break. Stick with us. The hardest of any city in the country. To tackle this, the Eilat municipality and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have some plans in the works. And to tell us all about it in further detail, I'm joined in studio by economy analyst and i24News anchor Ariel Margalit. Ariel, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sarah.
Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu again brings up the idea of opening up a casino. This is something that he's brought up a number of times again, and Eilat relies heavily on tourism. Does it have any chance of making it this time round now that there is such a struggle?
It's a very good question. There's fierce objections within his coalition, mostly of the ultra-Orthodox parties. Shas immediately came out and said we will not support such a legislation that would allow casinos to re-enter Eilat, and we'll speak about what happened, what was the reality in the past, but there are fierce objections within the coalition. I doubt if we'll be able to see it happen. Also in the former Netanyahu government, Yamina, Naftali Bennett from the far right also objected. If you're wondering why they're objecting it so much, first of all, they think they will make the poor people poorer. Casinos tend to attract the poor. And B, they claim that making an income, whether it's for the country or for the municipality from gambling, is just morally wrong.
Well, why is Netanyahu so keen on the casino idea in the first place then, if these are the issues that people are worried about?
Well, many would mention the name Sheldon Adelson, one of Netanyahu's greatest supporters. He's the owner of some of the biggest casinos in the world, including the Venetian in Las Vegas and in Macau, including the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, of course. And then he's also the owner of Israel Hayom, the newspaper in Israel that has received the title the government sort of newspaper. It's very much a Bibi oriented paper, and he's his greatest supporter. So some would say, it's the connection between the two and something that Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to promote exactly for those reasons. But looking at the past, Netanyahu is not the only one who supports the idea. Olmert, as Prime Minister, supported it back in 2003. Netanyahu has supported it throughout the years, even before Israel Hayom was such a prominent paper and so identified with him. And there's other people who say, this is going to do good to the economy in Eilat. And let's take a look at some numbers how Eilat is doing these days, because it's not doing very well. First of all, we're talking about the most southern city in Israel, only 52,000 residents, but the average wage there is 14% lower than the country average. That's year on year, hasn't changed for a very long time. Residents of Eilat, due to how distant it is, do receive a 10% discount on individual income tax, and there's no VAT there, both for locals and for tourists, of course. Official unemployment rates, Sarah, in April were 46%. We discussed that in the past. But actually, the mayor of Eilat and other local parties there claim that the real actual numbers of unemployment in Eilat are around 75 to 80%. That includes a lot of self-employed that were not calculated into the Ministry of Labor's data that was published. It's mostly local tourism, 90%. 7 million overnight stays in 2019 by 2.8 million tourists. Now you're asking, how many tourists could a casino bring to Eilat? The municipality and the government are speaking of 600,000 additional tourists a year, and that's about 250,000 shekels more for the municipal government of Eilat and for the government, of course, in taxes.
Well, I guess the question there is it really worth it? So are there any other solutions or plans on the table right now, apart from casinos, that might be able to revive the economy down there?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of models that have to do with casinos. Yes, there's an income, but then there's also a cost, the cost of rehabilitating people that would become massive gamblers, etc. And that's why there's other plans. The Eilat municipality just released a tender to start an amusement park, to open an amusement park on the grounds of what used to be the airport in Eilat, not the whole lot of the airport, but the southern part of the airport. It's a 40 dunam lot, and the tender just came out. The municipality wants to see the amusement park open as early as 2021, and hopefully, if casinos don't, that will attract new visitors and new income to the city.
Well, an amusement park would attract me over a casino, so I vote with that. Ariel Margalit, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Educational tourism has been key to connecting the international Jewish community to Israel. But coronavirus pandemic has not been so kind to the programs that provide these experiences, raising concerns over how diaspora communities in Israel will remain in touch. India Persaud has more.
From booming to barely there, the tourism industry in Israel is expected to be the last to return to normalcy after the coronavirus pandemic. Educational tourism, too, has been hit especially hard. Educational tourism is travel in which the main purpose is learning about the region and culture. In Israel, the industry alone generates $300 million per year. The sector's revenue has plunged by 2/3, a reported $200 million loss attributed to the pandemic. Educational tourism draws nearly 80,000 young Jews to Israel every year, but the COVID-19 crisis has caused 60,000 of them to back out.
I'm very concerned that we will miss the whole generation of tens of thousands of students that will not be able to come to Israel.
Those who partake in these Israel trips come by several ways, like through army programs, Jewish schools, and youth movements, many of which are facilitated through Masa, an organization that leads long-term experiences in Israel. With government budgets and donations being cut, there's concern over how subsidiary Masa organizations, such as Israel Experience, will have the capacity to function given the lack of resources.
Close to 80% of our employees, our permanent employees, are in unpaid leave.
However, there may still be some hope on the horizon. Many Masa programs reported record enrollment during the 2008 financial crisis. And now there's anticipation that people today will turn to Israel for the prospect of boosting future career opportunities.
People that were laid off or finished college and didn't find a job because said this is the time for me to go to upgrade my CV, to have an Israel experience, to do an international experience here.
And there's even reassurance that not all is lost to the coronavirus.
We had about 7,500 participants here in Israel, and about 40% of them decided to leave. I'm very optimistic, so I'm focusing, and we did focus on the 60% that stayed here and continued throughout the time.
As Masa continues to recruit for the fall-winter season of this year, they have confidence that the diaspora community will keep connected.
Artificial intelligence produced in Israel is being implemented throughout the US health system to help identify potentially deadly symptoms linked to coronavirus. Clue, the medtech firm specializing in real-time AI analytics, received emergency FDA approval and will hit intensive care units in the States as soon as possible. Now, to tell us more about how this technology works, I'm joined now by Gal Salomon, CEO and founder at Clue Medical. Gal, thank you so much for joining us. Now, to start off, what are some of the coronavirus complications that the technology can identify?
So the technology is basically trying to identify respiratory failure deterioration, which is one of the most complicated deterioration which associate with different kind of mechanism. And by the way, over the last few months, this is pretty much what we're seeing with the with many with the corona patients, which are, attached to a mechanical ventilator. So those are the type of things that we're working over the last couple of years.
And reports say that the tech can predict deterioration as much as 8 hours in advance. Now, how much of a difference can this extra time have on the patient's treatment and outcome?
This is a game changer in a way that one of the things that we're seeing, and this is something which is very open in the public domain, that if we're taking, one niche or one use case, which is corona, what you can see that deterioration are very, very, they're basically taking a very long time, but the fall down is so fast. The idea of early intervention equal to better outcome. What we're trying to do is intervene as soon as we can. Because if we know that something is going to happen, we have a lot of measures that we can take in place. Because when you're starting to see a fast deterioration, in some of the cases, it's already gone. You can't do anything anymore. And the whole idea is to provide enough time so the clinician can make an early intervention and change the outcome of the patient.
And it seems as though we are still learning about the virus, like the symptoms and the effects on the body. How quickly can the tech adapt to new information that comes in?
We have beat the corona over just, the last couple of months, but the company was created almost 5 years ago, aim to create the paradigm shift in the way that we're running our ICUs, which is focused on the US market. So what we have done is we have created a system that it collects a lot of information from the patient, from the physiological part of the patient, which is, from your blood pressure, your saturation, pulse, fever, and obviously a lot of knowledge which are coming, from the medical devices associated with your condition. That can be the pumps, the ventilator, the ECMO machine, everything, and obviously the monitor. Everything is collected in real time, analyzed in real time, and providing information in a graphical way so the team can make a good judgment based on what they are seeing. So we're collecting a lot of information in real time, analyze them, and provide an insight with regards to who from the patient are going to be deteriorating, who is going to be stable, and who we're not really sure what's going to be with them.
And Gal, you've already had the system in place in a research basis in a handful of US hospitals for 10 months now. Tell us about how the FDA push came about and what it means for the next stage of technology.
So I think, for us, the EUA was good push to get approval to start, marketing and sell the product, because as you probably know, up to an FDA approval clearance, you can't really sell. You can do pilots, you can do research, but you can't really sell anything like that. And I think giving the time, giving the essence, and giving the urgency, everything is coming. As said, guys, we have a technology. We're already, almost 2 years in the process of getting the FDA approved, and this is just, another push. So institution in the US can adopt this kind of technology as early as they can and really save lives. This is pretty much what we're doing here. The whole idea right now, given, the approval that we got for the EUA, is to start pushing this type of technology, not just for the installation that we have in the US, it's really, to new customers, new networks, and this is pretty much what we're working for, actually. It's really commercialized the product.
Well, Gal Solomon, the CEO and founder at Clue, it's an incredible achievement for you and your team and a very important step in the way of fighting coronavirus. Thank you so much for your time.